But you do allow them to take land.
No.
You do allow them to take land.
Nobody can
take land. And then
take
when
land.
they take the land, they kill the white farmer. And when they kill the white farmer, nothing happens to them.
Oh, this one's about to rattle some cages. Scott Jennings exposed CNN's Abby Phillip for pushing a narrative that doesn't hold up. And it's happening live on air. They tried to frame Trump's comments on South Africa as some fringe conspiracy, but the facts tell a very different story. And guess what? The numbers don't lie, but CNN does.
Office ambush. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa thought he was joining President Trump at the White House to reset relations. Instead, he was accused of allowing, quote, genocide of white South African farmers to happen under his watch. Watch this.
We have thousands of stories talking about it. Sure. And we have documentaries, we have news stories. Excuse me, turn the lights down. Turn the lights down and just put this on. It's right behind you. Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land.
The evidence that Trump is showing there with the press in the room has been debunked. There is nothing substantive to these claims that there is a genocide happening in South Africa. But that still didn't stop the White House from fast-tracking the refugee status of 59 white South Africans just last week. Now, here are the actual facts around this. In the last 9 months of 2024, there were more than 19,000 murders in South Africa. Only 36 happened on farms, and only 7 of the victims were farmers. How many of them were white? We don't know, because official data is not broken down by race. Now, even a State Department report in Trump's first term addressed the claims of race-motivated attacks on white farmers. That same report goes on to say that those attacks and murders increased in line with the overall rise in violent crime in the country. Still, Trump accused the South African president of doing nothing to stop his unsubstantiated claim of genocide.
But you do allow them to take land.
No.
You do allow them to take land.
Nobody can
and
take
then when
land.
they take the land, they kill the white farmer. And when they kill the white farmer, nothing happens to them.
No, there is quite...
Nothing happens to them.
There is criminality in our country. People who do get killed, unfortunately through criminal activity, are not only white people. Majority of them are black people. And we have now been utilized.
The farmers are black. The farmers are not black. I don't say that's good or bad, but the farmers are not black.
Joining us in our fifth seat at the table is Elise Labott. She is the Edward R. Murrow Press Fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations and host of Cosmopolitics on Substack. And you can see there why President Ramaphosa was a negotiator for the anti-apartheid government. Because he had extraordinary patience in trying to explain to Trump that what he is claiming there in the Oval Office for the world to see is just not true.
That's right. And he also, brought some props with him. He brought some South African golfers, a coffee table book. He knows that, he needs to kind of, in this feudal system, bring gifts to President Trump. It wasn't enough to stop that ambush, but he tried to correct the facts, let him know that the majority, and there is a lot of crime in South Africa, the majority is not against whites, it's against blacks. The majority is not against farmers, as you said in the intro. President Trump didn't want to hear any of it. It wasn't till one of the golfers and one of the white billionaires that he brought with him kind of said, look, President Trump, this is what's going on. And I think that's when, then there was a joke about the jet, which we'll talk about later. But that's when I think the meeting kind of turned and the tensions were lowered a little bit.
This is straight out of the conspiracy land.
CNN says the claim of genocide is false because only 7 farmers were killed in recent stats. But wait, even they admit the government doesn't break down the race of victims. So how are they so sure it's fake? Answer, they're not. Now, Trump is in the Oval Office pressing the South African president, asking why white farmers are being killed and why land is being taken. CNN freaks out. The guest panel calls it an ambush, says Trump was being racist. Really? Asking about land seizures and murder is now racism? Then they try the oldest trick in the book. distract from the issue by citing overall crime. Yes, South Africa has violent crime across the board, but that doesn't cancel out targeted attacks, and it sure as hell doesn't mean Trump can't ask questions.
Of the far right, and it is not based in fact. And it's amazing that this has actually become the foreign policy of the United States based on just straight up, I mean, we have the numbers. It is completely unsubstantiated. I mean, Scott,
you're saying it's not true that some white farmers have been murdered?
No, it's not true that there is a genocide against white farmers.
Okay, whatever you call it, have white farmers been murdered?
Actually, how many
have violence been committed against white farmers?
How many white farmers? Hold on a second. How many white farmers have been murdered in South
Africa? I don't know. Several. I mean, they asked.
No. How many?
I don't know. Several.
I know why you don't know, because those numbers don't exist broken down by race.
I mean, I know this. I wouldn't trust the South African government to tell me. I know that.
How many black farmers have been murdered in South Africa?
Look. You guys are so triggered over 59 people.
No, I'm not.
After we left 20 million people in the country. I don't know why you're so triggered.
Haven't even brought up the people, the white people that Trump picked out because they were white and told them they could come to the country.
How much racial killing are you going to condone?
There are 19,000 murders in South Africa. 36 were on farms. 7 of the farmers were victims. Okay, this is according to the South African police.
And you think the South African government is a credible source?
The other 29, hold on a second. The 29 victims who were included in the farm killings were farm employees who tend to be black. So the vast majority of people killed on farms in South Africa are black. Where is the concern about them?
The concern is that there are white farmers who have had violence committed against them, and they're being threatened. They're being threatened every single day. There's 59 people,
hold on a second.
And you're triggered about 59 people,
I
don't know why.
I haven't mentioned anything about 59 people.
Substantiate
why are you only concerned about white people?
I'm only concerned about this story because these 59 people asked for status. They're getting status, and now everybody's freaking out about it.
They didn't ask for anything.
There is no evidence that white people have been targeted. Some white people in the larger issue of farmers, in the larger issue of violence, have been part of this violence, but there is no...
Why are they trying to get out? Why are they... If there's no...
Scott,
why are they trying to leave?
The majority of...
Have you seen the videos of the people saying, kill the white farmers?
Afrikaners do not want to leave.
What do you think the phrase, kill the white farmers, means?
Yeah, that's a phrase that the ANC... That was a phrase that, was against the anti-apartheid movement. But the ANC, who's ruling the government, the president's government, has disavowed that phrase, has disavowed it in its songs, and there's no evidence that white people are being targeted. And the majority of Afrikaners do not want to leave.
They're not.
This is classic legacy media sleight of hand. They cherry pick one stat, only 7 farmers killed, while ignoring credible reports, videos, and survivor testimony that point to real threats against white farmers. They didn't even deny that the mobs have chanted, kill the white man. They just said the president disavowed it. That's your defense? Imagine any other ethnic group being targeted and the press just brushing it off because, well, overall crime is bad too. It'd be international outrage.
Part of the government, Scott. Right. You're taking a fringe movement and you're trying to make it a characteristic.
So it is the height of racism. It is the height of racism to say that white people have to be exempted from all violence in any society, and that is what is being said here. If we cannot say, there is no white genocide happening, there is no farm genocide happening, and the argument is some white people have been killed, even though 27,000 murders happened in that country. What are we saying? If anybody of one racial group is murdered, then that constitutes a refugee status for that particular group.
When the president has also ended the refugee program for all other people in actual war.
There is
actual war.
No, I don't understand.
I'm not triggered.
You want them to stay, and I guess you want them to have violence committed against them. Does that make you happy?
Go ahead and comment, and then I'll let
think violence against all people is wrong.
I agree with you.
Including the white farmers, but also including the black people that live in Africa. There are 1.5 billion people that live in the continent of Africa.
Like violence of any kind.
There are 1.5 billion people that live in Africa.
Okay.
There are 63 million people that live in South Africa. Mm-hmm. There were 59 people that were extracted out of a continent of 1.5 billion people and brought to our country. And what color were those people? white.
So?
And where were there other places where genocide is happening in the continent? Where 1.5 billion. I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I want to know. No. I want you to have a complete. I want you to have. I can have a complete thought. I want you to have a complete thought.
My thought
you are okay.
These people are under threat, and now they're coming here, and you're enraged that they're not still under threat.
Can you say that in addition to the 7 potential white farmers that were murdered, the 18,982,000 black folks that were murdered in the country, that's a problem too?
Yes, all violence is a problem.
Yes, and maybe perhaps
but the government's policies are targeting these particular people with land confiscation, and they're being targeted with violence.
That's incorrect.
There have been no farms taken from any white people yet.
Yeah.
Yes.
How
but
so?
the laws, do the laws not allow it?
There is a law, but it hasn't been.
There is a law, but
no, but
they're
it hasn't.
being targeted.
Kind of like the Constitution.
People
Hold on,
are
guys.
attacking them.
I think that
they're threatening them.
Hold on. A lot is being said right now, including many things that are not true.
What's not true?
So the land. Let's talk about the land for a second.
It is. It's the law.
Scott, just 1 second. Let's talk about the land.
The
land. Hold on a second. Hold on. Let's talk about the land. I'm going to take this one at a time because I think it's really important. 81% of the land, the vast majority, 96% of the private land in South Africa is owned by white people, despite black people being the vast majority of the population, 81%. The president of South Africa pointed this out today, that the United States has eminent domain laws that allows the state to seize land
on the basis
from
of race?
people. From people if they want to. And here's what the New York Times writes about what the Trump administration did in its first term.
CNN is now pushing the idea that standing up for white South African farmers being murdered is somehow racist. Imagine that. Caring about lives being taken is suddenly controversial, but only if they're white. Their message? Well, it happens to black people all the time, so what if a few white farmers die too? CNN is straight up defending race-based land seizure while pretending Trump is the extremist. They're the ones justifying a slow-motion ethnic purge, but with pretty language. Let that sink in. So who's really being radical here? Trump for shining a light on targeted violence, or CNN for rewriting reality to fit their narrative? Drop a comment. Do you think white farmers in South Africa are being ignored by global media? Smash that like button if you're tired of the gaslighting. Subscribe to Anomaly Report, where we expose the stories they try to bury.